process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Well, hello and welcome to Real Talk with the Cummings. My name's Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lena. Nice to see you guys on this wonderful end of the decade.
End of a decade. That is
End
true.
of the decade.
Gosh.
Yeah.
2019. What a year.
The roaring 20s are on their way.
Yeah. It's going to be a better year.
Definitely
going to be a better
I'm looking
year.
forward to 2020. It just sounds better.
It does. 2020. This year has been a pretty rocky year for a lot of people.
It's been an odd year.
Very odd year. Very strange. Almost like a year from the Twilight Zone. And before we get going, let's welcome Elliot and Tracy and Becky. And Becky had some really important things to say. She's come to believe in nothing unless it comes from within. And that's
good.
Good reflection.
That is
good
a good
understanding.
Reflection.
I think 2019 really brought that understanding to a lot of people.
It was a year of lots of change, and this comes on, the heels of today is a special day for me because it was pretty much the day that my life completely, irrevocably changed forever, and it was a day that I'll never forget. I was rescued off of a New Mexico mountainside by some onlookers that casually saw my car as it had been down there for like about 12 or 14 hours and stuff. And I was rescued from certain death. And I'm very grateful this day to those people that did rescue me. As the years go by, the impactfulness of that moment becomes lessened, but I still can see a big picture from it compared to what it felt like, just like in the last 4 years, I've been saying, I don't know, it's just been this appreciation for surviving and everything. Mm-hmm. But now it's like this year, it's like I didn't really talk about it much. I didn't really have a whole lot to want to blog about or say anything, but I just wanted to just remember it, as a day that my life changed.
And as we see some of the pictures of the car, you are definitely a miracle how anybody would have survived the kind of fall, literally free fall from the actual road. The car, as you could all see, it was like a ping pong ball, all the way down. And if we take a look at this particular V right here, and here's the steering wheel, how you managed not to get hit with that, and literally your brains being splattered all over the place was a complete miracle. I mean, it's just...
I literally thought that I could walk away, that I could drive out of the mountain. I was so traumatically affected when, the moments after the accident happened that I just really... seriously just had no wits about me. I had no idea how grave of a situation it was and how destructive, that situation was for me, and how miraculous it was that I was even found. It was the end of the year 2014, December 30th, that night, and they found me on New Year's Eve, like around 11:15 or so. Yeah. And what happened that night with you?
Well, I was waiting for you to get to me. I was all excited. I was like, looking forward to spending New Year's Eve with you. And I had bought you a little bear, and I bought, all sorts of little things and trinkets. And just, I was looking forward to a new beginning, but I knew that time was ticking, and it's like, she should be here by now. And I had this really gut feeling that something went really wrong. And I
Yeah.
called the cops, because it was like, you were supposed to get to me by 10:30, you didn't. And so right at 11, I called the cops.
Yeah.
And I said, I think something happened. And it was nighttime. We were getting ready in Silver City to have an extremely bad snowstorm.
Right.
And, my thoughts were, oh my gosh, I wonder if she took Demings or if she took the Black Range. And I'm thinking to myself, she took the Black Range and it's going to snow. I mean, God knows what kind of conditions and stuff. But make a long story short, I knew something happened to you. I knew you were alive. I felt it inside of me. But I didn't find out till the next day that they actually found you, and most people that I've heard about our story or know us kind of know the logistic, but you could kind of maybe sum it up. You fell off that mountain. You were there for 12 hours.
Yeah, I was basically unable to really move my arms because both of them had been paralyzed from the accident. My lower body was actually able to move, like my legs and stuff. So I knew that I was okay down there,
Mm-hmm.
but I had no idea the severity of the accident, what actually happened after they pulled me out of there. Miraculously, a couple of cars, kind of like they were traveling opposite directions, and they were family members and stuff, and they had just randomly stopped at the same location where I could be potentially seen and stuff, and heard. And basically they stopped right there, and it was around 11 o'clock or so that they were greeting each other outside and everything. And the two women noticed that I was down there after I had yelled and screamed and stuff, and they sent the guys that they were with down there. And one guy stayed down there with me, another one hailed a snowplow and got emergency services to come out and everything. But I broke my C1347
And
T7,
yeah.
and pinged my spinal cord pretty severely, to the point where I was given like about a 25% chance of even surviving with surgery. And that's the next day, January 1st, 2015, was when you and I first met.
Yeah.
And we first kissed.
Yeah, we met at the ICU ward, and let's see here. There's some pictures here that I could find. One
There's the
there.
talking one there, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we basically met, in a hospital ICU
Mhm.
under some very severe circumstances, really traumatic, very serious. And literally no one was there for me except for this person who I basically only knew for like 10 days over the phone. And eventually he came into my life, and, basically, except for maybe a few times when we broke up, never left me.
Never.
And
Honey,
stuff.
this is Lena, and you're watching another episode of One is Life Rolling Down a
Oh,
Steep
that's what happened.
Mountainside into a Ravine. This is a special edition with my new boyfriend, Mark.
She fell hard for me, really.
I did. I rolled and rolled for him. I flipped for him.
But that was, it was,
For him.
oops.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was something, to say the least. I mean, I had no idea, that life would be totally different, from that moment on. I really had to think hard about, do I want to take on this responsibility? But I saw that nobody was coming to your rescue, no family, no one. And I felt like a third wheel, really.
Yeah, I was still in the midst of a situation with my prior marriage and everything, where it was getting kind of ugly and everything. And when the accident happened, obviously that was the person that needed to be contacted because they were
Of course,
still,
they're still
you know,
married.
my spouse. So it was a really tricky situation. So I had that person, you know, giving me advice on what I should do. I had my mom giving me advice. My sister was going to call and ended up not calling at all throughout the time that I was there. So I was emotionally suffering, and all of a sudden I realized that I wasn't going to be able to transition as I had previously considered doing. And it was a very stressful situation because not only did I not know if I was going to survive and live, but I didn't know if I was going to survive and live through transitioning either.
Yeah.
So it was a very you know, looking back at it now, it really was a benchmark moment, probably the most pivotal time in my life ever. It was like, it was almost like my BC to AD moment
Right.
of life. And I literally felt like if there's walk-ins, if there's like this ability to exchange lives with somebody, it's like it happened on the mountain for me. And my life just completely changed in a matter of like that overnight moment.
Mine did too, inadvertently, you know, because I had never really been a caregiver to anyone. Not like that. I worked as an occupational therapist, and that was my profession, but it was never like somebody that now
Meant something to you,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And that I had to like, okay, now this person has become my responsibility completely. And
And I was absolutely helpless. I mean,
yeah,
when Mark came into the hospital, he had like every understanding of how hospitals work, how the system operates and everything. And he just like took everything under his control and was like, make sure you get this co-band over to her. Her hands are doing this thing where, you know, what is it? They're atrophying.
they were actually very
They were-
swollen. And
they're
one of
swollen.
the dangers that when you have that amount of swelling
Yeah, it's like
in a
that whole thing going
acute
on.
situation, you would have not been able to move your hand had they not brought
Right.
that swelling down. But these are very typical things that happen. And the first few critical days, that if they don't do what they need to do, there's a lot of harm that happens because of
And
it.
not only that, I was already facing that obstacle, but on top of that, I was an early transitioning
Yeah.
trans woman, and basically it was a rough road. I mean, at the hospital, being misgendered left and right. I remember my ID was still said male on it and stuff, and I was like, what? You know, and I was like so new as a transition trans woman that it was only my first year into transition. So there were lots of things that were going through my mind, and I was being very idealistic about my transition and everything. And, you know, patient discrimination is rampant
It is,
in the
very much
hospitals
so.
and stuff. And it was just another challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it was just another challenge.
One of many that we've had. But that was a rough year. And
But we ended up getting married within 6 months.
Yeah, we did.
And then this year happened.
2019. What a
This year, it started actually before 2019. It started back in late fall of 2018 when we started to all this spiritual enlightenment stuff that we were really pursuing, and we were trying to mix Jesus into it. And that was like a toxic recipe
Totally.
for absolute destructive disaster.
We got involved with a certain person that wears a beanie, and life just, everything just literally went upside down. Things were just, it's almost like we lived an episode of The Twilight Zone, and our life just kept spiraling down to the point where we broke up and got divorced, you know.
Yeah, we ended up divorcing on March 8th of this year. And all of a sudden, you know, when Mark and I did our last Real Talk with the Coming show before breaking up, it was like the next day Mark was starting to do, like, he was already doing 2 shows every day.
Yeah.
And he started talking about how he didn't know how detransition was going to look like, and this was just like a day before you had asked me to shave you, or to take video of you shaving your beard.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you were like, I am going to become Maritza.
The church lady, right here. And let me see if it's sharing it. Yep, there it is. The
Yeah.
church lady. That's what I became. And I took all of my pains, my suffering, all the things that I had not dealt with for a very long time, and created this angry, Bible thumping human being. And bought wigs.
Things that I never thought
Oh gosh,
you would ever
yeah,
do. Because I knew how much you hated them, how much
very much so.
you didn't even like me wearing them.
I hated you wearing
it's like,
wigs, and it's really strange how all of this just took place. It was almost like being taken over by some sort of, I don't know. I can't even explain. Like, I think back during that time, and it's like life is one big blur, and it's like, what happened? Literally, it's crazy stuff.
So Elliot says, I know it was probably a lot of reasons and it's hard to explain, but what reasons were behind your detransition? Sorry if that's too personal.
Oh, it's not personal. The breakup, I think from the very beginning, and that Lynn and I were together, I always felt like the outsider because she had a lot of challenges to face with her divorce from her ex and the children, and still dealing with her transition, still dealing with her belief system. There are a lot of traumas that were brought into our relationship, and we both had a lot of trauma. I had a lot of trauma that I was ignoring, so I just concentrated on her trauma and trying to fix her, and in many different ways. And I think it all just boiled to a head when we got divorced. And I just felt so cheated. It's like I put all this effort and all this energy into this person that I loved with all my heart and soul, and this is how the outcome ended up being. It's like I felt cheated, totally cheated, and so I was angry. I was frustrated, and I think thinking about it now, it was like I was trying to get back at you, and I was like, what better way for me to get back at you if I never existed? Because I figured 5 years of my life, I put so much effort, so much energy. I mean, you were my baby. You were everything that I never given anybody, all of me.
So much to the fact that anytime that, we had any family intervention, they were always jealous of me.
Mm-hmm.
Your family was always jealous of the relationship that you had with me and the focus that you had given me. I mean, I remember back in 2016, we went over to your sister's house that day after we had detransitioned, and then we went to a baseball game, remember?
Yes.
And we show up there and she just got upset.
Very upset.
And it was
it's
like,
oh,
wait a minute.
She's
what?
all that matters.
She's all that matters to you. And your parents felt the same way.
My mom to this day.
This summer.
Yeah, my mom to this day, when I told her you and I were getting back together again, pretty much disowned me. They kicked me out because of it. And I knew that if I chose you, that was going to be it. I was like, no family.
And that's the truth. We both are without family now. Yeah. We literally, the only family that we have are each other. And that's okay. We do not need to conform to other people's expectations for us.
And we tried. We tried during the many different times that we detransitioned. The first couple of times was my idea of like, okay, because I've always had this thing like I want to make everything right for you. I've always wanted, it's like, and I don't know why, but that's always been my thing. And when the first couple of times I was like, well, maybe if I detransition, the kids will be okay. And, in my mind, everything.
In my mind, I knew how much of an impossibility that was.
Right.
And just the fact that I had married anyone else was absolutely off the table.
Yeah, they
for
hated
them.
me. They hated me no matter what I did, because in their minds, even though it wasn't my fault that you transitioned, it wasn't my fault that you got a divorce from their mother, but I took, in their eyes, all the blame. And it was a very difficult relationship because of it. There was always, I always felt like, oh, here we go. When your guys were on the phone, and there was always, and then your mood would change, and you'd be depressed, and you'd be frustrated and angry. And we lived in that roller coaster ride for a very long time.
Well, I was living in that roller coaster ride on my own, by myself, throughout the year of 2014, and living in Minnesota and everything. So I was living that moment all the time, and I was constantly, like, emotionally, having a hard time with losing my children.
Right.
That was something that was very devastating to me. It felt like being sent off to war,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that I'm never gonna come back,
Yeah.
and being on mission for the rest of my life,
Yeah.
never to return,
So this last time, I was like, you know what, I give up. I'm like stepping away. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I couldn't deal with, the feeling like scraps, feeling like no matter what I do, nothing's ever going to make this relationship work, because you had to go fix the things that, I felt like maybe if she got to be with her kids, or maybe if something, I don't know. I was just like, I just don't, I have to.
And that's how I felt. I felt like, gosh, if there's anything that's a roadblock
Right.
in me being able to get back with my children, it's
It was
our
me.
relationship,
Yeah.
right? It's you and
So I
me
was like,
together.
I'm out.
So we both kind of agreed, although it was very difficult, because we both, there was always been love there,
Mhm.
and it was a very challenging time. I mean, I remember when you kind of like just disappeared, and Maritza shows up.
Yeah.
I was like in shock. I was like, what just happened? Oh my gosh. Now she says that he never existed.
I wanted to
Oh my
hurt you.
gosh,
I
this
wanted
is
to
just
hurt
like
you. I was like,
a
okay,
mind
it was
bending game, and
So
I was literally mourning the loss of my husband, but my husband was nowhere to be seen. And then I thought to myself, gosh, how ironic that this would happen to me, that I'm mourning the loss of my husband when my first spouse
Mhm.
did the same,
Life is
in
funny
different
that way.
ways, but it's almost like karmatic,
It
you know.
is. And Tracy says, I remember watching Maritza. It made me miss Mark. I never judged you then, but what you just said made perfect sense. It was rough. It was rough. And I just, oops, I didn't mean to put that on there. I just, became this angry, bitter church lady. And I pretty much used Christianity, which I also blamed for a lot of our problems, because constantly listening to these podcasts, and it was like we were toying with this, okay, well, this is bad what we're doing.
Although I wasn't dealing with what you're talking about with regards to, oh, this is bad what we're doing.
Right. But you did for a while, even before me.
Well, before you,
yeah.
but at that point in time, that wasn't my struggle at all. I was completely like comfortable, and my thing was thinking, God's okay with me. I'm fine.
Right.
I mean, I found a good Christian friend in Silver City who,
right, but that was before,
who was very, very kind to me. But before then, we were talking about stuff with regards to, all that spiritual stuff that we were dealing with and stuff. And so it wasn't traditional Christianity.
No, but
we were trying to piecemeal Christianity into,
right.
like a lot of people do these days.
Right.
They claim not to be Christian, right? And not to be, traditional Christians and stuff like that, going to church, yet they want to say that, they still believe,
right.
In Jesus.
And I think from being raised Jehovah's Witness, when you introduced, because I used to never believe in the Bible, and you're like, well, the Bible is true, and you would read stuff and we would watch stuff, so it kind of like it played games in my mind, and a lot
Yeah,
of
and
my
then
childhood
I
stuff
led
came
you to
up.
Jesus, like you
Yeah,
did the sinner's prayer. We got baptized
Yeah.
together.
And
So
then I did it again, and when I went on this crazy like Christian lady or church lady thing, and it was just bizarre. But it taught me a lot. It taught me that people will use you, and I felt very much used by the Christian community as a token ex-trans, ex-lesbian, according to the whole scenario, and they were like waving me like some sort of flag.
they had big plans for you.
Oh, big plans. I was speaking in places and doing all sorts of stuff. And, I wanted to believe it, but deep down inside, I knew what I believed in. And I was agnostic. Now I've become atheist because after seeing all of what took place and after really digging deep, I realized that, we are the creators. We are the ones that make this world go round and round. We are energy source. We are divine. And this thing that people worship and they call God is not at all what people understand it to be. And it's really deep, and you have to go deep into the rabbit hole to really understand and free yourself from that type of enslavement.
But this has been a year of so many changes.
Gosh, yeah.
But the changes have been for a purpose. There's been a reason that we danced around the fires, of Christianity and stuff. And literally, like, you immersed yourself in it.
Oh, big time.
And I ended up going back to church, although I wasn't embracing traditional Christianity. I saw that there were actually still people in that community that still would be kind, and that was for me healing. That woman being so kind to me and letting me stay at her home in Park City, Utah was really very healing for me. And I'll always be grateful to her. But what it did teach me was that I don't need to fear labeling myself as an atheist. I mean, that was the last thing I wanted to be known as an atheist, and it was like, oh, you're living, a sinful life because you chose to walk away from God and everything. And it's like, yes, I did. And yes, I am proud to be a person that was capable of doing that. I mean, escaping the tentacles of Christianity when you have been tied to it generationally, for generations, is a difficult thing to do. It's very hard. But I proudly wear the banner of being an atheist, without theism, theist, right? Because I don't need a God to tell me that I should do this or that or the other. I have instinctually been given by whatever created me, or whatever that source of energy that was that made me who I am.
Exactly.
That was not a partial, it was an impartial source. It's like you turn on electricity by flipping the switch and turn it off. You get connected and plugged in. It's not like this, I chose you, my child. You are, it's like
Patricia joins us and Darcy joins us. Welcome. What's funny is, originally when you and I got together, I was onto the spirituality, agnostic, really into crystals and energy work and all that stuff. And you were very biblical. And it's like, I was trying to teach you that mountains had energy and that, we are energy and that we are gods, and kind of like, and it's funny because then I went to your
it's like we
exchanged our beliefs.
Trade places.
Yeah. And it was just a crazy year, very, very crazy year. And it taught me that, not everyone's going to love you unconditionally. I learned that my family never loved me unconditionally, would only love me if I would behave the way it wanted me to. And I think part of my detransition this final time and becoming a Christian was I was trying to make amends. I was trying to do something now that I lost everything in, the person that I love most in life. Then I was like, okay, well, what do I have left? And I went into Christianity and I put my tail between my legs and went back home, and I was trying to be the perfect daughter. And It was worthless, totally worthless.
Now, Jesus Lover just contacted us in here and said, I am praying for both of you.
Please don't.
Jesus loves you more than you can
He
imagine.
does not exist. There is absolutely no proof. It's all made up stuff by the Romans.
The letter J did not even exist until the 15th century.
I hate to like really burst your bubble, but Jesus does not exist. When I came out as the Christian or the church lady, and I would tell people that I felt this, that, and the other, all that was is demonic feelings. It was really, really strange. All the stuff that I was feeling, I can't even put into words, but I knew that what was driving me was this pain. And I was like trying to make this thing true. And in the end, when I opened my eyes, I realized it's all fake. It's all lies. All these ex-trans, ex-gays, all these people that pour their hearts out and say they've been saved and they've done this, that, and the other. It's all a lie. I know people use it as a coping mechanism. I know that sometimes it may seem to help you because there's nothing else. Have you noticed that most Christians hit rock bottom before they give their life to Jesus? It's like, the final draw. And you want to believe it, but it's not true. We have been lied to about so many things. We've even been lied to about the health of vegetables.
Yeah,
and that's a show on its own.
A
show on its own that we really want to, because we've toyed with many eating programs, from veganism to keto and all sorts of different things. And you see people that have been vegan for years and all of a sudden have given up on veganism and now have become carnivores. And that's it's a show that we want to do so we could give it more justice, to explain a little bit more so that we don't sound like mad people. But everything is based on lies. Everything you have been taught from the moment you were young to now has been based on lies, and all to take away your sovereignty, your power, and to make you sick.
Absolutely. And usually the inverse we're finding out is true. So if something says it's black, it's really white. If it's white, it's really black.
Exactly.
If it's, it's really that extreme these days, because things that you think are true, they end up, this year has been a year of revelation.
Lots of revelation.
A year of a lot of exposure.
A lot of changes, a lot of craziness. Like I said before, like the Twilight Zone. That's what I felt like this year has been, the year of the Twilight Zone, and it's just bizarre.
They literally, this year, it's like its timeline hasn't even been consistent. It seems like things were slow and then they got fast, and they got slow and then they got fast. And it's like, I can't believe I was in Washington for 3 months, that we lived in Portland for 5 months.
That's another mind. Portland out of all places. I was like, how did we end up there? Every morning when we would get up and we opened the door, and I was like, why are we here again? It was just weird. It was like, I swear, sometimes it feels like we got sent to another paradigm or another portal, and it was just bizarre.
It really was. But it all had a purpose, because now we end the year with lots more clarity than we had at the beginning of this year.
First of all, we moved here to Apache Junction like that. It was just like 1 minute we're like, why are we in Portland? Let's get out. And then it was like, okay, where do we go? And it's like, okay, a place that doesn't rain all the time, that there's sun.
You just started Googling.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, Apache Junction came in and said, here, let's move here. And it was just like, boom. And before we know it, we did that. And a week later, we hired somebody to move our home.
Gone.
We were gone, and here we are. And we love it. This place is amazing.
It is. It's an incredible place. Looking forward to when it gets a little bit warmer.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it gets really super warm here.
Yeah, very
hot.
Yeah.
But we're gonna just welcome the heat, because living in a place where it's consistently cloudy, dark, and seemingly hopeless, it was very depressing.
Yeah. Thank you for taking care of that,
Yes,
Becky.
thank you,
Thank
Becky.
you. Yeah, nothing irks me more than to hear somebody say, I'm praying for you both. It's like, did I ask you to pray for me? Do you know how invasive that is when somebody tells you, I'm praying for you, and they haven't asked you to pray for them? And what exactly are you praying for?
I know. It's
Something
like,
against our will? Do
exactly.
you see how that God of yours is?
See, the
Very-
inverse is true.
Yeah.
It's like you think it's a prayer,
Yeah.
but it's actually,
A
I'm
curse.
cursing for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Or
like
I'm wishing what I want for you.
onto you.
Exactly. And it's like that is the rudest thing ever. And I wish Christians would understand that. How rude, how invasive that whole concept is, you know?
It really is. It's like they think that because they believe this, that they've been told, and that they experience, quote unquote, a personal relationship with some unseen
With some-
savior,
Yeah.
you know, that it's legitimately
Yeah.
something that you should believe.
Exactly.
You know, although they have no evidence, no scientific proof, no qualitative, exhaustive, like historical evidence for anything, yet they spew it as if it was like, you know, as if the grass was green outside.
And you
know?
notice that the majority of these people, like I said before, have hit rock bottom. There's some sort of trauma induces these psychosis to believe that you're literally hearing voices, in that Jesus talks to you, or that God talks to you, and that you've been called to save other people. You know, and it's really, if there was ever a diagnosis that should be placed on that DSM, is religiosity.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's crazy. And Elias says, completely agree.
And Darcy O says, the Quran is exactly like the Bible, both from the Middle East, except the Bible originates from Israel. Both of these religions kill people, and the Quran quotes, is a religion of peace, but they kill people.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no other religion that has killed more people than the religion of Christianity. Let's not forget what the Roman Catholic Church did to thousands, if not millions of people, indigenous, Europeans. I mean, it did not care.
Yeah, and Becky has a good point. Religion separates, period. It was designed for this purpose. Exactly, divide and conquer. They want to confuse us. They want to literally, like a virus, invade your soul and your mind. Because you're sovereign. You have abilities beyond your understanding. We are creator gods who have such powers. And they're trying to take that power away from you. And when I say they, I mean those souls that are more advanced, that have actually, like, think of a video game. You know, you get to different levels and you're in a higher level, and they want to control you so they can zap your power. The more, it's like Pac-Man, you know, the more you eat of the other souls. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you really look around, you look around at life and people and religion and politics and how everything is set up, you know, everything is competition. Everything is trying to brainwash you, whether you turn on that TV or you pick up your computer or your smartphone. Everything is constantly trying to change you from who you truly are.
I mean, if you're responding on an email on Gmail these days, Gmail is practically speaking for you. Gmail is like suggesting phrases for you to utilize and everything.
They don't want you to think.
And it's that way with Christians too. At a certain point in time, it's almost like there's this programming that Christians get into. They have the same lingo. They speak with the same cadence. They talk about the same things. They have the same cliches. They like act the same. They talk the same. There's like this homogenization in religion, you know, that everybody has to look like everyone else. And I mean, that speaks, I mean, oodles to think that there's this belief that you must conform and be like that other person.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's
just crazy. And then you have the doomsday scenario, which most of these Christians believe they're truthers, which is like an oxymoron. You know, they're constantly looking at the glass half empty instead of half full, you know, and they're always trying to use the fear factor to get into your head. And it's that way with politics, with every industry, every organization that we have in this world today, is it's like literally trying to invade your mind and invade your soul. You've got to be vigilant, and you have to wake up to the reality of who you are. Because if you don't, you will literally be, eaten up like the little Pac-Man. And it's not that the world's coming to the end, because it's not. What's changing is your perspective, your growth, your spiritual awakening. That's what's changing. And there's a new age coming in, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. And it's important for people to be mindful of what's going to take place.
Mars F joins us, says there's a lot of programming in general nowadays. It's too easy to become a brainwashed robot.
Exactly.
Not just within religion, but outside of it. The world is more programmed today than ever before.
Totally. And one of the things that I stopped becoming a vegan or being a vegan, which I was for 12 plus years, I started seeing the push. It's like, why are there Beyond Burgers everywhere now? Why is Kentucky Fried Chicken having plant-based chicken?
Subway.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everywhere, and it's like it's being pushed. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, this is like the same thing that they say the Earth is going through global warming and all this stuff. It's like they're utilizing people and their suffering and their sicknesses and their pain to bring in a new order, a new way of living. And they're corrupting everything that's pure. That's one of the reasons I stopped being a vegan. I was like, this is, it's like everything that I thought I knew was a lie.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
What I've been saying, the inverse is true.
Yeah, inverse, exactly.
We were talking about, just how great it is to be vegan, how great it is to eat a plant-based lifestyle and to eat your veggies and to heal with nature and to be close to Mother Earth and everything. And did we realize that there were anti-nutrients in produce? Did we realize
not at all.
that there are oxalates and things that we're talking, things that you thought were true and good are bad?
And what people don't understand, plants make this oxalate for mineral management, for seed germination, and for self-defense. So here we are eating these plant-based food that we think are good for us, and they're actually demineralizing you. They're actually negating the protein source that you're eating. So if you're not a full vegan and you eat your potato, you eat like your, chicken breast, red meat and everything like that, and you add potatoes and grains and plant foods, you're voiding yourself. That's why they always say do not combine protein with starches, do not combine certain foods, because it literally, it eats away at your system and it produces this oleic acid, which we're going to have a show talking about that, but everything from arthritis to mental fog to Alzheimer's, you name it. I mean, Alzheimer's right now is considered type 3 diabetes because the amount of carbohydrates that people are eating, the amount of sugar, and the amount of, even though vegetables seem to be, harmless, they're a carb, and they're a carb with an agenda. And I know that sounds crazy, but Google oxalate and how it harms you in all the foods that contain oxalate. Okay. And it's like, we have been so duped. I'm upset because I went through college and I learned certain things, and it's all based on lies. And
the longer you live, the more you realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah.
The more you get humbled to accept that your level of understanding and experience is going to increase with time, but don't be afraid to realize that what you thought was true may not be.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just the amount of deceit is beyond words. It really is. And just when you think you know something, just when you think I was like an avid vegetable pusher, telling people not to drink milk, not to eat meat, not to do this, that, and the other, because that's what I truly believed in. I lived a lifestyle for 12 years. Little did I know that all these aches and pains that I was having ruptures of tendons for no reason. All sorts of stuff was all coming from what I was putting in my body. And so, now we are embarking on a carnivore diet, which means the only thing we eat is animal based, mostly flesh. We do eggs and we do milk right now. For me, anyway, we each have different needs, but the way I think for me to heal from all the years, because I was a vegan for 12 years, I really need to create an elimination diet and really allow my body to get rid of all these oxalates, to get rid of all the inflammation. I even think that your brain gets affected. And I think we ate so many carbs during the time we were old, man. We were just and during that time, it's when our relationship also, besides all the crazy spirituality stuff, our relationship went downhill.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
I mean, even the 2 times that it has done that, we were heavily carb, even when we first broke up in 2018, 17.
Yeah.
I can't remember. We broke up twice.
We were doing that.
We were definitely not,
And Mars, which we'll be having on next week, by the way, folks. We had him scheduled before the move, but all of a sudden the move was sudden and we had to just pick up and go. But he says, dude, yeah, I got on the carnivore diet. I have a lot to say about that. Well, we'll talk about that next week. That's awesome. I know people think, what? But people don't have a clue how malnourished we are because we've been told that red meat's the enemy. And one of the things that led me to this, we started introducing a lot of animal protein with our veggies and our grains. And whenever we would eat this good steak, and I usually gave myself 4 or 5 ounces, and I was like, God, I wish I could eat this every day.
Wow, yeah.
Because it felt right. I was putting it in my mouth, and I was a person that was so anti-eating red meat. And all of a sudden, it's my body, from all the years of being a vegan, so malnourished, and the body's feed me real food. And we don't understand that our brains developed because we were carnivores. Because, that people that know we're omnivores. No, I mean, we ate as an adjunct, maybe stuff just to experiment, but we are carnivores in nature. That's how we evolved. That's how our brains became the way they did. Do you see now that the majority of people are on some sort of antidepressant, anti-anxiety, some sort of medication because brains do not function correctly?
Brains that don't get the right amount of saturated fat in them are going to develop incorrectly. One of the biggest macronutrient that I feel that I have been depriving myself of in the last 5 years, especially, has been the macronutrient of fat. We've been demonizing fat as if it's the problem, but the problem has always been that macronutrient that is expendable, that is not necessary, that the human body doesn't even need. And that would be carbohydrates.
Exactly.
We need protein. We need fat, but we do not need carbs. And I know it's mind-boggling, because there's carbs are where all that wonderful, colorful food is at, and that's where all the candies and either the candies of nature or the artificial candies, Exactly. I mean, or sweet tooth, We've gone away from eating, and having a taste for savory foods, filling foods, fat foods, to a more sweet tooth that saltiness and sweetness.
And Darcy says, I'm an omnivore. I have to have vegetables too. We used to too, till we learn what we learned. And like I said, we're going to have shows.
This was only last week.
Yeah, we're going to have shows really bringing that information forth because it's mind-blowing, literally mind-blowing. And people don't have a clue. They think, oh yeah, vegetables are so good for you. They are literally demineralizing you, even though they say they have minerals. They are literally starving you. And they're just creating these crystals in your body that creates all sorts of malaise, fatigue, pain, depression, anxiety. Your brain's not functioning the way it should. And
what we're finding out is that vegetables have a defense mechanism because they want to survive, right? But there's another mechanism inside vegetables that is always wow, this is amazing that this organism can be so smart, as to not only be defensive, but also to be malevolent, you know, to want to replicate itself and reproduce so badly
Yeah,
that it will compromise the life of another living organism in order
exactly.
to get there.
Just like a bacteria or a virus or the cancer cells. You know, they destroy the host so they can live no different. And Mars left us already, but he says, oh, my FG, my ex was vegan and she was nuts, went carnivore, and she was so calm. It's insane. I'm looking forward to the changes. And we've just started. And, you know, the beginning is a little awkward because you're so used to eating this plate full of greens and colorful stuff and all these grains and oatmeal and nuts and seeds, you know. So it's a different way of eating. And all you eat is literally protein, you know, all sorts, chicken. And chicken is not that satisfying to me. What's most satisfying is a big, like they have you eat 1 to 2 pounds of animal protein a day. Cheeses, butter, you want the fat because the brain needs the fat to heal. You're so deprived of real fat. They tell you eat healthy fats. And it's like those fats
Avocado fats.
those fats aren't doing
fats
anything
and nuts
for
and
you.
seeds. Peanut butter.
Yeah. I
Peanut
mean,
butter.
we're going to have a show because, you know, to bring you guys the hard facts. I mean, we've been listening to a ton of videos and doctors, MDs, that are actually promoting the carnivore diet. They've done research and there's actually conferences now. So Google carnivore diet and you'll see what you guys are going to get. We will be bringing you more shows about that in the near future. And Brianna joins us. Well, welcome, Brianna.
Welcome,
Thank
Brianna.
you. Thank you for being
Elliot
here.
is going to bed. It's 3 a.m. in England. So
Oh, okay,
says
Elliot.
good night, Mark
Good
and
night.
Annette, and everyone here in the chat.
Thank you for
Much love
joining
to you
us.
all.
And Mark says, I don't hate vegans, but I don't think every vegan should be vegan. They do it for the wrong reasons, not for health. And the majority do. They should realize that we are animals, just like every other animal. And, you know, there are species that give their life up for others, for their survival. And that's how that's the circle of life. Does it make a lion a bad person or a bad animal because it hunts and eats its prey because it needs food? So here we are tiptoeing around eating carrots and kale that's like destroying us so that we don't kill cows or whatever. I mean, I think there should be a more humane way of doing it, don't get me wrong. And I think that's what needs to be focused on. Better conditions so that the food that you're eating, you know, comes to you with a good form of energy and love. You know, the way it's always been done in the past.
Becky says, can I be honest? I just freaking love food, especially chicken, LMAO. You know, one of the things that we're really finding out in short order is that we really love beef. You know, we had Golden Corral this past Sunday, and the thing that we had on our menu, on our table, on our plate, that was the most satisfying was a fatty cut of New York strip steak.
Yeah.
You know,
I had to eat that.
I mean,
all
it
the
was
time.
like absolutely, like totally fulfilling.
See,
You know,
one of the things also from this lack of good nutrition, which only can be given to you by animal protein, hardcore steaks, fatty steaks, is the imbalance of hormones. And I know it's hard for us trans people to deal with, but Brianna goes, my mental health is rocky. I kind of feel like it's the progression of my T blocker I take daily. And that's exactly what it is, Brianna. Because
yes.
unfortunately, you know, our biology doesn't understand our needs, our spiritual needs. Because I think this whole gender thing is very spiritual. And we play it out in these meat suits. But biology will always be biology. You know, you can pretend to eat rabbit food and be kumbaya with the planet, but it's not going to get you your health. It's not going to allow you to progress. You might, in the beginning, when people turn vegan, they were eating what we call the standard American diet, and they were eating awful food, a lot of junk food. So, of course, anything you do is going to change your health for the better because you're cutting out processed foods and junk. But after a while, and I want to show you here, because the picture is worth 1,000 words, I want to show you a guy by the name of Matt Monarch, and he was an avid raw vegan. He moved to Costa Rica, had a farm, and grew all the vegetables organic and everything else, right? And let me see here. Did it share it? No, I gotta go here. I gotta go to Facebook. And it's incredible how this person literally, I mean, became so malnourished and so he almost died. Okay, Google Matt Monarch. He used to have some raw food world.
On the website Basmati.com, they say Matt Monarch has been at the forefront of the raw foods movement for over 16 years. Matt and his family are expats and reside in Vilcabamba, Ecuador,
Thank
which
you,
is known
Google.
as the Valley of Longevity.
Oh, that's
Please
Google.
stop.
Many people
Stop,
consider
Google.
Matt's family extreme due to how they embrace their
See,
own
modern
natural
technology,
diet.
folks. We have that.
Goodness gracious.
We have that Google thing, and you say something, and it wants to tell you the entire history of a person. But anyway, because I said Google.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I did. See, yeah,
Oh,
scary
no.
stuff, people. We have that Google thing, and it talks to you when you don't want it to talk to you. But make a
I
long
had to
story.
unplug it.
Yeah, we had to unplug it. To make a long story short, this person was promoting this lifestyle, was living it, and if you should see what he looks like today, he's aged 30 years and he's not doing so well. So I'm glad that we caught it in time. And although now we're going through that transitional phase, it's hard because it's hard to used to munching on nuts and doing all this stuff, but that stuff will literally rob you of the nutrients that you need. And this is why we're so anxious or depressed, feeling unbalanced emotionally and physically. And we should not feel that way, especially if you're younger. You know, it's like, if people don't understand, well, it's like you have people, well, they have a healthy lifestyle. They've been eating fruits and vegetables, but they're still sick. Duh, because we have been steered away from our natural diet. We should be eating organ meats, bone marrow, things that we need for our full nourishment. And like I said, I'm excited to see the changes, so we could share it with you guys and to bring you more information regarding the carnivorous diet.
Brianna, girl, I understand what it's like to feel that way and everything, and to feel the need to have to take these artificial supplements that we as trans men and women do take. Progestin is dangerous. T blockers, spironolactone is very dangerous.
Yes,
for our health. It's a cardiac arrest medicine that's not used anymore. And why is that? It's because they found a better alternative. So spironolactone is literally a potassium sucking drug.
It is.
That basically dries you out. Bodybuilders use it at the day of competition to get themselves to dry out and to get more lean and muscular looking and ripped. And we as trans women are told to take 200 milligrams of
daily
spironolactone daily.
Yeah,
and it raises cortisol levels. So if you feel that your mental health is rocky, it is.
It is.
Because these drugs affect your mental health. And it shouldn't be a shock, because most drugs that are given and prescribed these days, even if you watch anything on TV and they show those little ads, suicidal ideation, you may become irritable, you may have suicidal, it's like all these things.
All I have to say is, there's a hormonal balance that we all have, and everyone has a different one because there's no cookie cutter. So if your body needs to have X amount of testosterone and you're putting in, things to raise your estradiol and decrease your testosterone, you're playing with your chemistry that's going to affect not just your sex hormones, but your entire hormonal system from your thyroid. I mean, you look at a lot of trans people that have thyroid problems. They have all sorts of
premature
aging, anxiety, depression, anger spells, suicidal, all sorts of slew of different things. Plus, you start losing bone mass. I mean, it's just horrible. Okay, so there's got to be a way where we could continue to express as we are without harming our health. Darcy says, Mark and Lena, red meats are really rich in vitamin B12, which can't be properly absorbed if you go vegan and decide to get the source through supplement pills, so you're still not getting enough. You know, it's really sad when you're going on this diet, vegan, plant-based diet, and you think it's got it all, but you have to constantly be supplementing, not just B12. You have to supplement with a whole slew of different things because it's a diet that is void of real nutrition.
Things that actually grow brain, grow the brain.
Yeah,
DHA.
exactly.
There is no DHA in the protein of
It's
plant food.
EPA. It's totally different and doesn't allow your brain to function. ELA. To function properly, which your brain is like one big electrical component, and you have synapses and dendrites that communicate. And if you look at, an actual diagram of the brain in action, you're going to see the little, almost like a thunderstorm, electrical storm is taking place.
And people say, "Oh, we're herbivores and stuff, or omnivores."
Omnivores. Yeah.
Well, I mean, an herbivore, a cow, they'll eat grass, right? They love grass, but they have two stomachs that grass goes and digests in, and they have a very great support system for fiber.
Exactly.
We
don't
do not.
We don't do well with fiber.
We don't.
No.
We don't. And it's like we have this, I don't know, it's been sold to us that meat is the source of constipation. And the fact is that the fiber that is not soluble when you eat, that fiber just gets stuck in there, all those greens that we're eating.
It creates a lot of gas, and it creates a lot of putrefaction and a lot of fermentation, and it really throws off a lot of your gut bacteria. And I mean, you eat beans, which is loaded with another toxin. What happens when you eat beans? You think it's normal to be having farts all day long and a bloated stomach and irritable bowel syndrome and celiac disease and gum disease, and all that stuff comes from your gut. People didn't realize that bleeding gums and a gum disorder comes from your gut. Darcy says, without B12, your body will begin to shut down and you can run into autoimmune disorders, which can attack your brain and organs. And a lot of vegans think, well, I'll supplement with, it's fake. It's not the real McCoy. Your body needs it from the real food source, which is, yeah, it's really, I get upset about it because I dedicated myself 12 plus years to being a vegan. I became a really good cook of this vegan type of, like now I feel like I'm learning how to cook again because I'm not used to, I'm used to like cutting up stuff, making stuff look colorful and
tasted
yeah, because I'm really good at that. And it's like, I was killing us. Here I am at first, literally forcing you to have vegetables when I wanted you to heal, thinking that was because that's what I thought. That's what I, studied, and as a certified nutrition consultant, that's what they taught me. And it's all based on lies, total lies. Let's see, I love it as well, but teeth issues stop me from enjoying it. Loves what? The red meat.
Oh, the red meat.
You could always put it in a food processor and, go to town that way.
But as of January 3rd, this issue will not be an issue. New teeth both top and bottom. Yay.
There you go.
My primary diet, meat, potatoes, veggies, and fruits, eggs, and dairy also.
Well,
see, that's what people are told to eat. All of the basic food groups.
Yeah.
And we're finding out that
potatoes are very toxic. Fruits, I mean, nature's candy is just as bad as the other candy. And people think, oh, no, because it's got fructose. Fructose is just as damaging, if not more, to your system. Did you guys know that whatever type of glucose, fructose, whatever it is, feeds the cancer cells? Cancer cells cannot proliferate with oxygen. They need sugar for their energy to be able to invade your body. So when you're feeding it, whether it's an apple or banana or sweet tarts, bagel, pasta, anything that has a form of sugar, it's going to create problems for you. And again, we want to have a show so we could really bring you the facts and put the links on, but I'm going to go ahead and share this link with you guys, and you can just read on oxalate and really dig deep. And that lady on that particular page is a wealth of information. There's a lot of really smart people really going against the food industry that has been literally turned around, and they've been lying to you all for a profit. So it's important that we educate ourselves.
Patricia says carbs are addictive, fat and protein is not.
Exactly. And you become, once you get used to using the real source of energy, which is fat, right now we're running on sugar. That's what we've taught ourselves. But once you get used to that and you stop having this food addiction, you stop having this love affair with food, where you're looking at your plate and it's like, it's like when you go to a buffet. It's not even like, oh, I need this for energy. No, we don't even look at it that way. We need to retrain ourselves. I mean, because of what we're doing, eating with our eyes, we're making ourselves very ill. From our physical to our mental to our spiritual self, everything is being ruined by food or the improper food.
Patricia says I eat cheese crisps when I get the urge to chew something crunchy.
There you go. Or you could do pork rinds. I mean, it's eventually, once it's like a heroin addict or an alcoholic. You don't see an alcoholic that's in AA ever go back to taking a sip of alcohol, because boom, you go back to being an alcoholic. It's an addiction that you will forever have to maybe battle with. But the good news is that when you finally get rid of all those foods and your taste buds change, you no longer will crave that. And your taste changes completely. It's like
we have a nation full of addicts.
Yeah.
And the pushers are on every street corner. Literally, you go to the grocery store, that's your pusher. Let's not fool ourselves.
Yeah.
Sugar is as addictive as crack, you guys. And sugar is really the cause of most disease.
Yeah.
Whether you're eating an apple,
Mm-hmm.
a banana, or like a cake,
Whatever
or
it is,
a pie, it's killing you.
You have to understand
Literally.
that the fruits of today, they're all GMO. They're not fruits that were there. The only true fruits back in the day were bitter berries, and they ate them very sparingly. It was just like one of those things you're walking around. You imagine trying to get full on whatever it was, a berry or whatever it was that you ran into, and the chances are that if it was true that we sustained ourselves on fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, we would have been dead, because there are many places that had no vegetation whatsoever. It was just what you killed to eat. Literally. So, this whole, it was like an occasional berry, and I think we didn't have that kind of taste buds back then. We had a different type of, we wanted, think about it. When you think about a red, juicy steak, what happens to your mouth? It's like even vegans are trying not to duplicate a Beyond Burger that looks like a real burger.
Right.
Why is that? Why are they craving a juicy red burger when they're vegans? Because it's innate. It's something, it's like, as much as I tried fighting it, when I brought beef back into my life, and it's like I said the other day, what did I say? Gosh, I wish I could eat this every day.
Yeah.
Because we've been taught to fear it, that it's bad for you. There's a lot of new research coming our way, and to change the lies that we have been told regarding nutrition.
With regards to, other types of medications and stuff that trans women are prescribed, Brianna says there are a large population of trans women who don't take those pills.
And they're smart. They're very smart, because those pills will harm your health in the long run. You're telling your body to stop producing something that it's made to do. And I know it's hard. I understand it completely. But even women have testosterone, and they need it. And as they age, they supplement with it, because you need it. It's one of those hormones. And I found that out real quickly when I detransitioned the last time. My body went to giant. Yeah, completely. So, yeah, it's important. you've got to, it's hard. It's hard. I understand, but it's something that you've got to weigh out, your health. What are your priorities? And how can you do what you're doing without harming yourself? The least amount of damage. And Brianna says that she's a sugar addict. You're not alone. There's many, many, many. But the good news is you could break that addiction. And by doing that 21-day no sugary drinks or desserts, it's a great start. And then teaching your bodies to have more of a savory need versus that sugary need. And your health will thank you for it. Because the way we eat regulates our moods, the electrical components in our brain, how we feel, our thinking ability. If we look at life in a doomsday scenario, or we look at life, hey, I know this is bad, but I could handle it. And that's a difference.
Yeah.
That's a massive difference.
Darcy says, I wish that I could eat red meats. I was told by my doctor to avoid meats and anything with cholesterol in it because my cholesterol is high.
That's another fallacy with cholesterol. And the actual person that started spewing that was some sort of doctor who unfounded. There's no true research that backs that up. Your brain is made up of mostly cholesterol. Your body produces cholesterol. It needs it. So what happens when you don't give it cholesterol, the body starts to overproduce it because it's trying to heal itself. Now, cholesterol has two components, LDL and HDL. The problem lies when you have more LDL than HDL. And by eating sugars and eating processed oils, your body's producing more LDL. By eating eggs and meat, your body will start producing more HDL. And there's absolutely no proof that high cholesterol means heart attack or stroke. No correlation. They just kind of threw it out there. Do the research, Darcy. Lots of new research out there on the lie about cholesterol.
Well, what we're learning is that most of this is founded upon epidemiological studies and stuff. And these are not, like real, like meat and bones, to put it plainly, studies that compare things, but associating things with other things and saying that since this group was this way and they answered the survey a certain way, and this is what they had happen to them, then associating that with other people's experience is what brings about these results. And the fact is that on any given day, your cholesterol levels can change on any given, like throughout the day.
Yeah. So,
and that goes for blood work too. I mean, we talk about, oh, did you have your blood work done and stuff? And it's like, yeah, what part of the day?
Yeah, what part of the day?
Because it changes.
It changes, and it means absolutely nothing. I mean, there are people that are giving a clean bill of health with their blood work, and they kill over the next day. Or people that say you have this, and they live another 50 years. I mean, we've got to empower ourselves, and I hope that 2020 is going to be that kind of year. Darcy says, why has vegans become a religion, and why are they so aggressive towards meat shops to the point of causing property damage to the means of protesting? These people are literally, and I don't want to pick on vegans because I was one for 12 plus years, but they literally have some sort of imbalance from all the vegetables that they're eating, and they become very angry. It's kind of like Christians. Look at like these radical groups all have the same motif.
Yeah, I mean, when they're bombing, abortion clinics back in the 80s and stuff, Christians, when, that Baptist church group out of like the Midwest or something was doing some really crazy things against, the LGBT community, and having these protests and everything at gay pride events and everything. I mean, it's like, it's the same energy. It's the same energy. It's militant religion.
Angry. And they want to force everybody to believe the way they do. And, it's like, listen, eat what you want to eat. It's your life. But don't force other people to eat the same way. It's like if we all of a sudden started telling everybody, eat meat only, become a carnivore. That's personal. What you eat is as personal as who you decide to bring to your bedroom. That's nobody's business but your own. You could educate people if you have a podcast and you want to educate people. Because I love to learn, and now especially like we're like trying to like really, because I feel like I have to unlearn everything that I learned before. We've been lied to, and it's important for us to educate ourselves.
It's going to be a year of learning,
A lot of learning
and unlearning,
and continue to seek truth, and grow. I think it's imperative for our survival as a species. Growth is very important. Spiritual, emotional, and physical growth, all very much intertwined with one another and important.
It is.
So I think we've said what we're going to say, unless you guys have other questions. Yeah,
I can hear the
they're shooting. Yeah, I'm sure.
We do live in the Wild West.
We do. As long as no bullet comes. That's dangerous. When they shoot that, what goes up must come down. That's crazy.
It's true.
Crazy stuff. But yeah, guys, it's important to become in tune with your inner self. Most people call it your higher self. If there is a God, that would be the God, your higher self. You in another dimension, in another paradigm, cheering you on, giving you information that you need to get to the next level. And pay attention. One of the things that I'm very excited about this diet, not only to get rid of all these aches and pains. I'm 55, and even though I look younger, my body has been through the mill and has a lot of pains and inflammation. I'm looking to really make my brain sharp again. I noticed a massive decline. When I was in my 30s, before I ventured into this whole veganism, I had the memory of an elephant. I was sharp. I was able to I was on everything. And now, I find myself drifting a lot. It's like I could be talking about something. If I don't keep myself focused, my mind is going elsewhere, and it's foggy. It gets tired. I notice I need a lot of sleep. We watch TV and I'm like, okay, I'm lights out, and it's the years of this plant-based regimen that I thought was helping me, and I was blaming testosterone for a lot of this stuff, and it wasn't testosterone. It was my diet. And it's upsetting. It's upsetting that I spent all those years, many years, 12. At least you were only 4 years, because out of the 5 that were together, we were in and out. But but I spent lots and lots of time during the time I was raw vegan. That was like,
Darcy asks, does salt cause water retention?
It depends what you eat it with. Like if you're eating it with carbs, yes. But if you eat it with just a carnivore diet, no, because the body will flush it out, and the electrolytes will balance themselves once you're on this diet for a while. See, carbs make you retain a lot of water. That's when you eat a lot of carb, your body holds on to the water. So when you're just eating an animal-based diet, it doesn't retain water. So we're adding salt now. Like we bought some Himalaya salt, and that's what I'm so used to cooking with herbs and spices and no salt. And now I'm like, we bought that Himalaya thing, and I'm like,
remember that one YouTuber workout woman that talks about, and just douse it with salt.
Yeah, she adds a whole, and we were like, oh gosh, no, that's bad. Don't do that. That's what I thought. And now it's just salt and pepper. It's
even the spices are not so nice.
No.
Like we were using turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric and a lot of garlic, and it's like all that stuff. And I had read before that garlic was very toxic, but I didn't want to believe it.
Really?
Yeah.
You read some of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you. So when you give up carbs at first, you'll urinate a lot. After a few weeks, you will need more salt. Exactly. That's one of the reasons, because when you're, you have the carbs, they retain all that water. So, there's we've seen people in before and after pictures in some of these groups. In 2 weeks' time, a woman had this like little pouch, and before you know it, she had this like inflammation in her face, gone. It's amazing the results that one gets when you become a carnivore. Let's see, that still doesn't answer my question. Does salt cause what?
So the answer is yes then. Salt.
Does salt cause
water
no?
retention.
Because it depends. It's not a black and white yes or no. If you're eating carbs, yes. If you're not eating carbs, no. You know.
I'm not the doctor.
Yeah, that's a simple. Even Patricia
so.
says when you give up carbs, the first, it's like because it's the carbs and the salt that make you retain the water, the combination of the two. So you need salt if you're just eating a carnivore diet. So if you're eating carbs, then salt will make you retain. Look, I've being on testosterone, my blood pressure has always been, I've always had to monitor it, and I take Hawthorne Berry. And I've been monitoring now that I'm using a lot of salt, and and we just started.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my body probably still has the vestige of some carbohydrates, and it's got to learn a new pathway. But normally, when I eat salt, and every time I go out, I always get this water, and we've been salting it up big time. Like when we went to the Golden Corral, a lot of those meats had a lot of salt.
Mm.
The way that I've been cooking lately, I'm like on that. And what is it? Oh, butter. I mean, because butter has salt in it, and all that stuff. So, yeah, salt helps you stay hydrated. That's true. That's true. And that's another thing we've been made to fear, salt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question, Darcy. Not a simple yes or no. It depends on what you're eating, But yeah, salt is good for you. Again, and you don't just want any regular salt, like either sea salt or Himalaya salt. And I'm really loving the Himalaya salt right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Do you put salt in our eggs?
I didn't. I didn't because of the bacon, but I can. I'll put some.
Just a little.
Yeah, and I want to put some in the coffee because that also gives you, for tomorrow. It's a new way. I'm telling you, it's like I feel so lost in the kitchen now because I'm like, I'm really lost.
You were really in your element with all those colorful fruits.
Yeah, and I was cutting away, and I had it all like, everything was like a perfect orchestration. Now I'm like, this is cooking, and the eggs have to turn, and this big, We
put some pork chops into we just purchased a
slow
crock pot, and we put it in there, and all night long you could smell it.
It was smelling pork all night. I'm gonna have a dream about eating pork. It was crazy. And we bought a skillet that makes awesome. No, not a skillet, a griller to make griddle to put eggs in there, and bacon. Bacon is so good, crispy bacon, because I like mine really crispy.
I know my friend Landon used to give us the hardest time. He would put up these little memes and stuff on our Facebook saying, "Ooh, loving bacon, life is better with bacon." And if Landon was out there, I would say
you were right.
You were right, Landon.
And see, when we did keto for a very short time a couple of years ago, I wasn't ready. I was still in the fear mode, like this is going to kill me, But
yeah, I use no salt to get potassium.
Yeah, there's a product, but they say you got to be careful with that because it could actually put you in. Because I've been doing some reading on these groups, and some people asking, how I'm starting to cramp up a bit. Bone broth is really good. Organ meat is really good to get your potassium. Salmon is also very good for that. There's certain, like I said, like liver, organ meats are really going to get the minerals in the right path.
Darcy says sea salt is easy to make. All they do is evaporate the water in a huge dish, and they scrape out the bottom once the salt is dried and crystallized.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I prefer Himalaya salt because it gives you the array of minerals that you need, So far, so good. I mean, I'm feeling,
Well, we've only been here for, on this
2 or 3 days. Yeah.
2 or 3 days. And I mean,
Sunday. Yeah,
Sunday,
Monday, Tuesday. But I feel good about it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. I just don't know how it regulates. Like, you're supposed to eat to satiety and stuff, and sometimes I feel like, I'm not getting enough. But it's all a matter of just playing with it, figuring out. Like, I put some butter in my tea. That helped.
Yeah.
Because my body's really craving fat.
Yeah, because you were so low fat to no fat for the longest time. And the fat that you were getting it's not the fat that the body really required. The brain's going, no, that's not it. That's not the
avocado.
one.
Sorry.
No, sorry, avocado ain't going to cut it. You need the real stuff.
One of the things that really spoke to me was when that guy, I think his name is Dr. Paul Saladino, he said that before he was even like a carnivore, pushing the carnivore diet, he literally was a vegan, and he went on a trip on the Pacific Crest Trail, a hiking trip, and he was in the wilderness for like 3 months. His friends brought all kinds of cuts of meat, jerkies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He brought his plant-based vegan food,
peanut butter,
and he said he became a meat eater.
Yeah,
in the middle of that, because he could not stand living off of plant food for that long. Yeah. Plant food sustains you for a little while, and then your body gets to the point where it's like, enough.
Yeah.
And here's the common sense, kind of thing to follow is, if the Bible tells you to do it, do the opposite. Because the story goes that Daniel had his friends, and they were chosen by the king, and they were trying to do this fitness test and stuff, and Daniel wouldn't eat the king's food. So he just ate his own grains and seeds and fruits and vegetables and stuff, and they came back all healthy, and they beat the other guys and stuff. But it's like, that is not true. If that were true, then those people that control others, that eat these richer foods, they wouldn't eat grain. They would eat grains. But they don't. They eat the meats. They eat the fats. They eat those things that give sustenance and life.
Just look at, like, fruit ferments. They make wine out of grapes. What does wine do to your brain and your liver? What is alcohol? What does fruit have when it, so it's like fermentation. What is it doing to your body, to your gums, to your teeth, to your brain? You really have to think about
all the acidy fruits that are out there.
Yeah.
Darcy says, salmon and trout is rich in omega-3, only fish that are oily.
Yes, and Patricia says, butter and heavy cream in my coffee, my tea, and in my bone broth. There you go. That's the answer. Yeah. That's the answer. Well, you saw today how good your tea tasted. Imagine coffee.
Yeah, it's a, it's a work in progress. Yeah. Trying to figure it out. But I'm glad we're on this path. Yeah.
And bone broth. Yeah. You got to get some bony meat and put it in the crock pot.
Yep.
And because we wanted to buy the bone broth that they sell, and for 4 servings, because you got some of them like $4. I'm like, I just rather, buy my own meat, because you get to eat the meat and then you get to drink the broth. And, that's got to be and I'm looking forward to the organ meats, yeah, I feel that that's what, I need to do. Is like 2019 has been a toxic year. 2020 is going to be a healing year.
Yes. I accept that.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to let you go so you can enjoy yourselves. Stay out of trouble. Don't drink and drive. Think good thoughts, and bring in the new year with a loving heart, healing abilities, letting go of things that don't serve you, and learning to free yourselves and appreciate what you got, because you don't know how long you're going to have it for. So be grateful always.
Yes.
All right. So if Nobody else has anything else to say. We're going to bid you good night and wish you an amazing new year. Remember, you are creator gods. You are responsible for your destiny. No one else but you. Don't give your powers away. Anything else you want to say, my love?
No, I just wanted to wish everybody a wonderful new year. 2020 is going to be a great, great start of a new decade.
It sure is. It's I feel it. I feel it that, you know, it really is. I mean, I'm loving our new home, you know, our new place here in Apache. I mean, we're still living the same fifth wheel, but new location, beautiful views and mountains, just amazing altogether. So get a frother. Frother.
Take a froth.
Oh, yeah. Is that
We're
like
talking about a whisk?
a whisk? Because you take the heavy cream and then
But
put it on.
she's talking about something else.
I think, yeah. I'm not quite sure.
I'll Google it.
Happy New Year's to you too, Darcy. Huh?
I'll Google it. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I turned it off, so I won't say.
Oh. All right, guys. Be well. We love you. But remember to always love yourselves too and have a happy new year. Bye-bye.